Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan. Dan, are you here? Where'd the Dan go? Hey, Dan. So Dan's going to be fading in and out of the show today. He's got previous engagement, but that's okay, Dan. Are you going to join us a little bit? So we have a special headline show for you today in which we're going to cover several of the headlines very, very quickly today because Dan doesn't have much time and neither do I. We all know what's happening in the market and how quote unquote crazy it is. We'll try to put some perspective on that today with some of these news stories. Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks for cutting out just a minute of your time for us. We really appreciate you having Say hi, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, before we get into these headlines, we've got a lot of them. We're going to be talking about the COVID cases could spike if eviction ban is allowed to relapse. We're going to talk about the CDC and what their opinion is on that matter. We're also going to talk about mortgage applications taking a dip, what that means for us in general. We're talking about a lot of investments in startups, and the startups are all around real estate. So we have Compass doing a IPO for about $10 billion, they presume. There's a Tomo Networks, which I would love for you guys that are joining us on the show to look up now, TOMO Networks. That is a startup that is two former Zillow execs have started. They got $40 million in their seed round. We have Pixel Properties getting $10 billion, and then no, I'm kidding. I wish though. Spencer Rascoff, they have a thing called Pacaso, which is like a timeshare, but not a timeshare. We'll get into a little bit of those details. They raised $75 million. So we got a lot of like startup stuff to talk about today in these headlines. And that appeared to be what dominated the headlines this week. But Dan, before we get into all this, would you please tell people what our show is actually all about?
No, I think we're good today. I don't think we need to.
Okay, great.
All right. When Ray and I met, just it's forever ago now here on the interwebs. I'm a gloriously bearded man, and I had an idea for a show, which is the show we do today. But when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
Really? What's that?
He hates flying.
This is a funny story. When I had never flown until high school. Okay. And I was really worried about it. I was also afraid of roller coasters at the time. So I fly to Universal Studios with the band because we like won the Governor's Cup or whatever. So we get to go to Universal Studios and do this thing. So we fly to Universal Studios, and I will never forget waking up the next morning because I had an entire dream about the impossibility of flying. And I woke up and immediately was struck with, I'm not actually here. Flying is impossible. Big metal bird in the air. But thankfully, my science teacher taught me Bernoulli's principle. And I went, no, Bernoulli's principle, you can fly. And that's what got my mind right that morning.
So you flew to ride roller coasters?
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah, with the band.
Yeah, that's two fears, one stone right there.
Yeah, it was interesting. But ever since then, now I love flying and roller coasters, so we're good. We're good.
Same. So obviously, I noticed that Ray had a giant beard as well. But what I really noticed that he loves giving value up front to not only his clients, but just to humans in general. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
Yeah, and part of what we believe being more as a human is about, and being more as an agent is about, is being able to communicate to your client what is going on. And in our pre-show, as we were testing the audio from Clubhouse, which we are also live on right now, Matt even shared with us that one of his clients sent him an article from Inman and said, what do you guys think about this? And he was like, oh, I've never heard about this. First time I'm looking at this. So we believe that a well-informed real estate agent makes for a much better counselor, I guess you could say. Whatever. To help people make difficult decisions with their real estate investment, which for a lot of people is their largest investment. So without further ado, I guess we have a little bit of ado. Dan is resetting his there you go. Okay. Sorry. Dan reset his camera there. All right. So without further ado, are you ready to get
You're not
headlines?
supposed to talk about it. It's supposed to be
It wasn't very smooth. Sorry. I'm in a rush. I'm trying to get these headlines.
Yeah, but we're ready to go. I tried to make it all slick. I messaged producer Matt, and then he solos on Ray, and it was gonna be fine.
It was gonna be fine, but I messed it up.
By the way, I don't even have the headlines in front of me.
I know this is gonna be a reaction show for you, Dan.
Yeah, I'm just I have no idea. And by the way, I already have two thoughts. I have two questions based on just what Ray kind of covered there, because I've sent them some of these, so I know some of the headlines, but I already have two questions. But let's get into it.
Okay, so in the time that it took us to get this show out, we've actually had a change in one of the headlines. I'm not even kidding here.
Which happened?
It was talking about the mortgage slump, right? Yeah, we do this live. Now it says homebuyer mortgage demand inches higher, but rates hit their highest level since summer. So this comes to us from CNBC. Higher mortgage rates do not appear to be dampening demand for home purchases, but are crimping refinance volume. Mortgage applications to purchase home rose 3% last week from the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association seasonally adjusted index. That's the fourth straight week of gains. Volume was 26% higher than a year ago. So that's really interesting too, because if you guys recall what exactly was happening a year ago, the COVID shutdown, right? So that's when the shutdown happened, was about March 14th. So we are in that now 4-week period of super low showings, super low buyer activity. So now we're seeing volume was 26% higher than a year ago. But what was it compared to 2 years ago? That's the comparison that no one makes. We'd have to go back and do a lot of research to find that. And we just don't have time as active real estate agents. But one of you out there who's curious could do that, and that would be really cool. This is a quote from Joel Kahn. He's the Mortgage Bankers Association economist. Purchase applications were strong over the week, driven both by households seeking more living space and younger households looking to enter home ownership. The average purchase loan balance increased again, both by quickening home price growth and a rise in higher balance conventional applications. We may see affordability challenges become more severe if new existing supply does not significantly pick up. Okay, Dan, and we also know that the mortgage refi that has decreased, but applications to purchase has gone up. Dan, what are your thoughts?
So that's the thing, is mortgage rates keep rising, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. But then you look at what they are; they're at 3.09%. I mean, that's pretty
crazy good.
That's pretty crazy cool, because when this all happened, what were they when this all started? 3.4 or something like that, 3.5, right? And then they just kept lowering them. Then it went to like, dude, what are we doing? Like, how are we lowering these so far? And then it, obviously they need to creep back up. New president or otherwise, just the economy's getting back and going, and people are going back to work, so they need to go back up, right? And how do you explain it to Ray? To stop inflation, right? To kind of level everything out.
Jeremy James coming from us from YouTube says, "OMG, rates are so high."
Yeah. And then you look at them and it's like, okay, cool. You got me to read your article. Oh, they're at 3.09%. Okay, cool.
That's right. And if you're listening to us in Clubhouse and you want to add your 2 cents about rates or what you're seeing in the market around you, is it affecting your buyers or isn't it? You'll have to be fast, but you can use the hand raise button today, and producer Matt will bring you up. Again, we can't hear you until we come to you live, but then you can tell us who you are, where you work, hopefully get some referrals from other bearded men of real estate viewers in the community. And then you can add your 2 cents to any of these articles that we cover today. Also, Melissa Mara, she joins us from YouTube. She says, rates are so high. I love it. Oh yeah, and I miss Mario. He joined us too. He said, what up, guys? Hey, Mario.
Hello, buddy. And by the way, let's take note that all of our comments, all of the comments have been from YouTube. Are from the YouTubes. Yeah. So thank you.
All right, next headline. New home sales take a hit as builders grapple with big delays and bigger costs.
And let me guess. Another headline is going to be, if we searched another headline, it would be builder sentiment falls to lowest in 4 months.
That's right. Yeah. No, the one about the mortgage that I just changed out for this new article that was more recent was talking about how let's see, maybe it was on this one. They took a hit with the lowest sales in 9 months. I'm like, well, that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay, so sales of newly built homes fell more than expected in February as builders faced higher costs and persistent delays and consequently raised their prices. Taken together with rising mortgage rates during the month, affordability for buyers took a major hit. The headline sales numbers were disappointing, with an 18% monthly drop to the lowest pace since May, according to the U.S. Census. But some of the technical numbers are more telling of where builders expect their business to go. So this is where you get into the details beyond the headline. Though buyer traffic remains strong, some home building activity is being delayed due to material shortages, said Chuck Folk. He's the chairman of the National Association of Home Builders from Tampa, Florida. This is forcing builders and buyers to grapple with rising affordability issues as soaring lumber prices has added more than $24,000 to the price of a new home, which I think we covered that number last week. In short, we know that lumber is about 200% more than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
Higher rates, supply shortages, and rising material prices weaken affordability, pushing the median price of a home in February up just over 5% annually. So new home sales are down, but also new home builds seem to be down. We know that and I've repeated this several times, but at the beginning of 2020, housing starts were up 13% and then hit a major delay in March. And ever since then have been trying to play catch up. And if you recall, Redfin and Zillow and all the big guys, the forecasters were saying, hey, and this is pre-Pandy, they said, hey, by the end of 2021, we're going to have a full-on buyer's market. And what they were looking at were things like housing starts and builder confidence and materials availability, and all of that stuff was in some of those calculations. And I think they could have been right had we not had this unforeseen pandemic. So, and because we have, that's put us into a longer stretch of a seller's market that looks like until materials become more available and land becomes more reasonably priced and less competitive, and there's more retail homes coming on the market to take care of some of the excess demand. Until all of that happens, then we may be in this for a little while. Dan? Matt Lorch, he's coming to us. He says from YouTube, he's an Atlanta real estate agent, by the way. That article I posted came out in November, but I was so busy working hard for my clients to notice the date of publishing. There you go. And then producer Matt says, pre-Panda. Melissa Mara says, besides actually building a house, try getting a fence on your own property done right now. It's just bad. Yeah, I do have builders that are giving people fence credits and saying you're going to have to contact the fence company yourself because we can't find materials. Let's see, delays in February, ice storms. You know, that's a good point. I didn't think about that, but there were nationwide ice storms that could have contributed to the delays beyond what some of the stuff we're seeing in the news. So I wonder if that did have an impact on the new home sales.
Well, I mean, I think we're kind of, I like that comment there by Jeremy, you know, Chicken Little, it's a bubble. You know, meanwhile, when you really look at it, the inventory is at an all-time low and buyer demand is an all-time high. You know, and I watched this video the other day because I'm trying to figure out why the Bearded Man of Real Estate show with Ray and I, with our devilishly handsome good looks, why we're not getting thousands of views every week. But hey, so I go and I watch, and also I'm just trying to learn. I'm trying to see what other, you know, experts, quote unquote, like Susie Ormond and things are saying. And, you know, I watched this video, dude had like 54,000 views, and it was like, you know, housing bubble, housing crash and all this stuff. And then I watched it. He didn't predict anything. He didn't say anything about a crash. He essentially said what Jeremy said right there. It's inventories at an all-time low, buyer demands at an all-time high.
Right.
Like he didn't say anything new, nothing, you know, it was all just sensational. And maybe that's our issue, Ray. We're not sensationalists, but
we're not sensationalists, but I know someone who is. Matt Leonetti just joined us. He is in Clubhouse. He is very much a sensationalist, I think you'd say. He's in Canada. And Matt, I'm going to come to you. I want you to tell us what's happening in the Canadian builders market. Is it similar to what we're seeing here in the U.S.? Oh wait, I got to bring it up.
Boom. Short and sweet.
No comment. Very good. Thank you. See, sensational.
Yes. Sorry, I just jumped in and then I got a call, so it kind of cut out. And yeah, now I'm here.
Perfect.
How's it going?
Good, man. Are you guys seeing the shortage of inventory materials and supply on the new home sales in Canada that we're seeing here in the US?
We sure are.
See, it's a worldwide problem.
There you go. We just sussed it out on the Bearded Men and Real Estate Show.
Thanks, Matt. Wait, he's saying something. I can't hear you, Matt, until I come to you. Hang on. Say that again.
I'm just saying I bring tons of value with my responses.
Very much so, sir. Thank you. All right. So, like I said, this is a headline show. If you want to add anything to any of these headlines, you got to be quick because we're going to jump to the next one. And this next one is also CNBC. I'm just going to stay on CNBC for a minute. We're going to talk about the eviction ban. I've got two articles on this. Which one do I want to click here? Let's do this one. So this was more of an opinion piece, kind of. The nationwide eviction ban is set to expire at the end of March. The CDC will likely extend it. The Centers for Disease Control's Prevention may be moving to extend the national eviction moratorium that has been in place effective since September and is now scheduled to expire at the end of March. They sent a proposal to the Office of Management and Budget for regulatory review, which experts say indicates that the health agency is taking steps to keep the protection in place, the protection of the tenants. It's not a guarantee, but it's a submission to the OMB means that it's likely that the administration will extend the CDC order on evictions. So a big question I have is, when's it going to end? CDC spokesman Jason McDonald said a decision to extend the moratorium has not been made. The White House did not immediately respond to the request for comment. So short-term policies, this is a quote, short-term policies like eviction moratoria leave renters accruing insurmountable debt and jeopardize the ability for rental housing providers to provide safe, affordable housing, said Bob Penninger, president of the National Apartment Association.
There's a National Apartment Association?
Yeah.
Jeez, we come up with
There's all kinds of associations.
Yeah.
Housing advocates point that Congress has now allocated more than $45 billion in rental assistance to address those arrears and say it would be a waste of that money to allow evictions to proceed. President Biden must extend the moratorium until the emergency rental assistance funds are expended, said Yentl.
Okay, I get all that, but
led to the spread. All right, so this is increase in evictions led to the spread, increase of spread and potentially deaths of COVID-19.
I don't know how you make that connection.
I can't see that.
I've seen this article I don't know if this is a new article or just a new take on an older one that I saw a couple weeks ago, but I don't see how you put these two together. I mean,
they're making a lot of assumptions, and one of them is that renters never leave their apartment.
Yeah. So if I rent, if I'm a renter, I don't go anywhere. I work from home or I don't work at all. I don't, what kind of assumptions are you making there, sir? But my thing is, okay, whatever. I don't think that's my reaction. It's not going to happen. It's not going to make more Rona cases or Rona deaths. It just won't happen. But at some point, we have to come up with a solution. And, just with anything else in life, it's not black or white. Like people that can pay their rent that aren't because they're taking advantage of the system, they need to be evicted. So when can we pull their actual finances? Do you still have a job? Do you still make what you made before the Rona? Oh yeah. Oh, I probably make more. Okay, then pay me your back rent or I'm going to evict you. That's where it has to come down. Now, people that lost their job, that's where the rental assistance and mortgage assistance comes in, right? Or the forbearance and the rental assistance comes in. So you got to reinstate these get rid of these moratoriums on evictions at some point. I have a listing right now I can't sell because there's renters in there. I can't sell it. We can put a sign in the yard, we can hint, but they need to let me in for photos. But unless some buyer comes along that says, here, I'll give you $5,000 for first and last month's rent on the next place, they're not going to do it. So at some point, these have to end, and we got to get back to some normalcy, But I'm in a little bit of a mood. So if I sound like I'm being harsh, I mean, maybe it's because the mood. But like, how long is this supposed to go on? Just okay, you don't have to pay rent for 3 years because there was a pandy. Sorry, like. Beep. I mean, what are we supposed to do? Come on.
All right. Anyone else want to add to the eviction moratorium? What's happening in your area? Is there still a moratorium? Are you able to sell properties that are tenant occupied right now? If you do want to add, you're already on stage. Just flash your mic, and I'll come to you real quick.
Wait, do we have a dude from Tomo?
We don't have anyone from Tomo.
Wait,
we are going to be talking about Tomo Networks here shortly.
Says Mitch of Tomo. Who's Mitch Robinson?
Let's see. When you get to Tomo, happy to jump. Oh, look at that. When you get to Mitch Robinson, when you get to Tomo, happy to jump in if you wish. Mitch of Tomo. I'm in Clubhouse unless I have to run. Note.
Well, is he doing? Yeah. Is he doing a voice to text thing and it translated some Japanese to Mitch of Tomo?
I gotta find. All right, Mitch, raise your hand. Where is he? There he is, Mitch Robinson. Yeah, we're totally gonna get to Tomo. We're gonna cover Pacaso first, and then Mitch. Mitch, I will definitely come to you. So, thanks for joining us on the Clubhouse.
Hey, right. Can we pick? Because I got 5 minutes. Can we pick? What's the next story? And then
so we either have Pacaso.
Then Clubhouse can react and commenters can react.
We have Pacaso. We have Tomo. We have Compass losing their closing. Their title company basically, and
I want the Compass valuation one. That's what I want.
All right, Compass evaluation.
Yeah, because then the other ones are kind of techie stuff, right?
They are techie. Yeah. That'll be all right. Let me get this to our producer
because I have a good reaction to this one.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Hang on, Matt. I'll get this to you.
Yeah. Sean Nelson has a great question on the last one, by the way. How would they even get a new rental? They have to show proof of previous payment, right?
Yeah.
So, but at some point we have to make how do I say it? Make a distinction between, yeah. You still can pay your rent, so pay your rent.
All right. Online real estate platform Compass eyes $10 billion valuation in the U.S. IPO.
And this fits in. This Pixel Properties valued at $100 billion.
Yeah. Well, we're profitable. So
you can just put a number on it. Yeah.
We're in the black, which is our first mistake. Right. SoftBank backed Compass is eyeing $10 billion valuation, hopes to raise $936 million in an IPO in the New York Stock Exchange. A house for sale marketed by the real estate brokerage Compass, which is ready for an IPO. Oh, wait, this is okay. Blah, blah, blah. The real estate, that's what they put instead of the photo. They put the text. The online real estate platform Compass wants $10 billion valuation. They're doing they filed an amended S1 prospectus filed on Tuesday. Compass is now set to offer 36 million Class A shares to the public between $23 and $26, according to the filing. Compass filed an original S1 prospectus on March 1st. That's where we found out that they had lost money, if you remember.
A lot.
We covered that on the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Compass had raised $1.5 billion from investors, including SoftBank, Goldman Sachs, Canada's Pension Plan Investment Board, since founding in 2012. The firm landed $450 million of SoftBank's Vision Fund in 2017, $2.2 billion valuation. The most recently, Compass was valued at $6.4 billion after a $370 million funding round. Compass has done over $3 billion in gross transaction volume, which is almost as much as Andy C. He's at our Clubhouse right now, working with 19,000 real estate agents in the residential market across the country. The company turned in a $3.72 billion in revenue, up 56% year over year. Net losses narrowed to $270 million last year.
That is an interesting word. Narrowed.
So they lost $388 million in 2019. They only lost $270 million last year. After turning in $3.72 billion in revenue in 2020, they lost $270 million. And they won a $10 billion valuation.
By the way, valued at a valuation of $10 billion or want a valuation of $10 billion?
They are going on the market with a valuation of $10 billion, according to the shares that they're going to put on the market. It would value them at a $10 billion.
I'm going to break the news here. I'm going on the market. Just me, public company, $5 billion valuation. Just me.
Swipe right, y'all.
Swipe right. All my shares are less. I'm a real estate agent. I do the
Yeah.
same thing and way more than any Compass agent. So 5 billion. My shares are.
But are your numbers in the red right now?
Huh?
Are your numbers in the red right now?
Yeah, I've lost a ton of money, but that's why I need the 5 billion.
Well, that's if you've lost a ton of money, you're well on your way to potentially make that much. So and this is where I always tell especially the people in Clubhouse, you guys who are smarter than me, y'all got to tell me, like, why is a company that's losing 270 million worth 10 billion?
No one ever answers that question, by the way.
No one has yet.
And now, by the way, we have Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Clubhouse. No one can answer that question. But here's my point. Why so much, on going public and valuation of 10 billion? Are they a real estate company? So Mario kind of says it. If you want to hit his comment, Compass is not worth 10 billion. They aren't a tech company. They're a brokerage, nothing different from KW, Redfin, anyone else. So what are they? What is their focus here? What are they trying to send out to the world? Are they a real estate company or are they a tech company?
Tech company. They say they're a tech company, but it seems like
but they don't do anything different. Remax, we do, our team, not necessarily all Remax agents, but we do way more than any Compass agent does, and it's more tech based than any Compass. I've worked with Compass agents. They're all over Los Angeles, and I just. What are you? What are you doing? Are you a real estate company first? Are you going public? Are you just trying to make money for your shareholders? Like, when does it come back to, we want to sell your house and help you with your real estate goals? When does it come back to that? When does it stop being about all this madness of where we want 10 billion and all these valuations and tech company crap? Do you sell homes or not? That's all I want to know.
That's a good question. Maybe Tomo has the answer.
Yeah, and also I read an article as I was doing research. There's now more real estate agents than there are homes for sale. So
yeah, I saw that. It's pretty great.
Stop becoming a real estate agent. You won't make it. You're gonna fail. You're jumping in at the wrong time. You're not gonna fail. It's too easy. You're not gonna learn how to sell real estate, and you're gonna fail. Please don't jump in. We're good. Everything's fine.
And producer Matt says Dan should make his own crypto, Dan Coin.
Yep.
Right. Jeremy James said, I'm in the black for at least 3 years. He's going public. Yep. This is good. This is the way to do it. All right. Now, I do want to bring up, so we have a guest, Mitch, an unplanned guest. And
I got to go. Can I sign off? I got to go.
Yep. See you later.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Dan.
Sorry.
It's just totally cut him out. Good job. Okay, so now this is the point of the show where I really need some feedback. I need our Clubhouse peeps to chime in here. So Mitch, I'm going to come to you. I want you to tell us who you are, how you work with Tomo, and if you could give us a brief synopsis of exactly what Tomo is, and then I want to briefly get into this article on GeekWire with the executives and all that stuff. So Mitch, I'm coming to you, man. Mitch, are you there? You got to hit the little microphone in the bottom right corner of your screen there.
Oh, sorry about that. Hey, thanks for having me on, Ray. I was actually looking for a Clubhouse thing about Justice League, the Snyder Cut, and this looked way more fun. So I jumped in. I'm also watching you guys on YouTube, and there's a little bit of a delay, but I'm already jealous of the beard and nothing on top, and I kind of have half of that. So so thanks for letting me sneak in. So Tomo, we kind of announced who we were back in October. It was founded by a couple former Zillow executives, Greg Schwartz, which a lot of people know from his Zillow days, being one of the leaders over at Zillow with working with agents on the Premier Agent part of the world, and Carrie Armstrong, who is also a leader over at Zillow. I was also at Zillow some years ago. And, without trying to be overly commercial, I'll just tell you real briefly how we think about Tomo. And my favorite kind of one sentence to say about Tomo is, once you find a home as a consumer, it's really hard to get the new car smell. The way we think about it is, from the day you pick out that home until you close on that home, even with a fantastic agent, it can be a pretty miserable experience. So many different touch points, everything from the basics of financing, title, appraisal, but then all the other things that consumers go through, like, gee, can I put a deposit down on new furniture before the appraisal, after the appraisal? How am I going to figure out the moving? Is my agent filling me in on these things? Is the mortgage company, like, who's really helping me out? And how do I keep track of all these things? And how does it all tie together? And that's the basic premise of what Tomo is all about, is helping consumers be successful. We're a home buying services platform. So they may go first to an agent or Zillow or realtor.com. None of that really matters. But once they've picked out that home, how are we going to help the consumer and the agent get to the promised land and take away the drama as they're going through the process?
That's interesting. So would you say it's more of a, is it more of a tech, like an app type company, or it sounds like it's more like a full concierge service that can come alongside of a real estate agent and help them offer these additional services? Or does it offer these services without being tied to an agent or lender? Oh, wait.
Lending and working with kind of the best agents, right? A consumer needs both to be successful as they're going through this process. And so we obviously think first about the consumer and initially kind of helping them on the mortgage side, but it's also enabling that agent to feel confidence that the process is going to be complete and that the consumer is going to feel good about it. Like when you have a close, and I had a close last summer, it was 30 days out. And even though I loved my agent, like every day was pins and needles in terms of kind of communication and what's happening and what's not and who's in charge. And when you think that most consumers like buy a home like every 7 years, and maybe this is one of the reasons why, because you're like, oh man, I can't believe I'm going to have to go through all of this again. It feels hard.
That's interesting. So it's a communications interface of some sort. Do y'all have samples or anything of it yet, or are y'all going to be releasing that kind of stuff later?
We'll be going live this spring, and spring starts pretty soon, so everybody should start paying attention. You can go to tomonetworks.com, which is a very basic site that has a little bit more information. It also kind of gives a little bit detail about members of our team. I think what makes us a little different, I think you mentioned it up front, we came in with a huge amount of funding, and we're not like a garage startup. If you look at our team, we're all people that have kind of done this before. We have a lot of developers. We have a lot of smart people from a variety of backgrounds, and we're super pumped. I'm probably the least hardest working person right now because I'm talking to you guys while everybody else is building out what we're going to have live soon.
Are you kidding? You're broadcasting worldwide on YouTube, Facebook, and Clubhouse. And I do mean worldwide. We have worldwide viewers here. So you're getting the word out maybe even more than the GeekWire article did. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I do have a couple of questions, though, for you, Mitch, that are coming in from some of our commenters. Mike Elizabeth Rodell says, is it like a process app where they keep track of everything and tell the client where we're at, like roadmap markers along the way, auto email updates for inspection, appraisal, etc.?
Those are all parts of things that the consumer wants. Now, listen, again, there are great agents every day that keep consumers informed, but for a lot of agents, I talked to an agent friend of mine recently, and this is kind of my favorite line. He said, even when things are going great, I get blamed for everything because there's so many steps in the process. So some of those steps, Tomo will be directly responsible for and take on. Others will help the agent be successful with those. And we don't care if you're a fantastic independent agent or you're with a franchisor. It really doesn't matter to us. It's how can we help the agent be successful during this process and also give the consumer confidence. I'll add one more thing. One of our basic principles is this Japanese philosophy called omotenashi. And in fact, the word Tomo kind of comes from that. And omotenashi is all about anticipating needs before you know they even exist. And that's something we kind of think is missing in the industry. Again, some agents are able to pull that off, but it's super hard. And can we be part of that? So think of that first time home buyer, right? I mean, there's a lot of drama involved on the financial side, as well as just checking all the boxes side. And I know many people, myself included, even though I've been in the business for a while, when I bought my home this past summer, I had a huge spreadsheet that lists 1,000 tasks, and I had columns, and I was like, who's the owner? Is it the agent? Is it the loan officer? Is it me? What date do I think it will happen? My wife was, patting me on the shoulder every day saying, hey, can we order some furniture yet? Is this deal going to happen? And who is really going to give me that answer? So there's so many pieces. And if we can, as I said at the beginning, like, can we get to the new car smell a little earlier with people that have kind of, I don't think it's a term that has gone away yet. Like, it's a dream for these people. It ties to a life event, a divorce, a marriage, kids. Like, how can we bring peace and excitement to this process?
I love that. That's a great idea. Well, thanks, Mitch, for coming on and sharing the tidbit on Tomo. And sorry, I love alliteration. And I'll get to this article now, and definitely reach out to me. I'll connect with you on Instagram too. Let's see. Do you have your Instagram? No, you just have Twitter. All right. So shoot me a message or something like that, and let's get together. I'd love to have you guys on the show sometime to kind of look at it in a little more in depth, because I think that client concierge service and that creating an incredible consumer experience is definitely the only way that we as real estate agents can offer something other than a quote like streamlined service that just buys someone's house, like the iBuyer programs and things like that. If we're focused on, and we have a North Star focus on the consumer experience and the process, like you said, and helping them to get to that quote new car smell earlier and sooner and having a wonderful experience, then that's going to give real estate agents an edge over the automation of just selling your home through an app or something like that. So Mitch, I appreciate you joining us today.
You bet, Ray. Great. Thanks for randomly having me on, and happy to work with you guys or be on anytime.
Yeah, man. And good luck finding your Justice League info. Okay. So let me cover this article real quick. It says former Zillow execs raised 40 million seed round for Tomo Networks to reinvent how people buy homes. And this was also from October 27th, 2020, just like he said. But for whatever reason, this article and several of the other fundraising articles popped up in our stream today. So I wanted to get to it because we have not covered this yet. Two former top Zillow group leaders are getting back into the real estate industry, Greg Schwartz, Carrie Armstrong. Tomo Networks is their new company. Mortgage is a massive, distributed, important market, said Schwartz, the CEO, and we're going to lead it. The seed investment pedigree of the investor group, Trulia founder Pete Flint, ex-Zillow CEO Spencer Rascoff, and others are among the backers. It's a vote of confidence in both the idea and also the founding team. So they're voting on both the jockey and the race here. So they spent 13 years at Zillow. Schwartz spent 13 years helping the Seattle company grow to a real estate database behemoth. Let me fast forward here and where it talks about, all right, quote, Schwartz's family had also just gone through the home buying process. Finding a new house was awesome, he said, but making an offer, buying it, moving in it, and renovating it was pretty painful and demoralizing. I had a wonderful real estate agent. It was the core systems and the technology that left me feeling like I had no power and no transparency. I had no ability to actually impact the outcome. So you guys can read more on this. I won't exhaust it because we did have a special guest there that kind of gave us some insight into it. But they're going to move from a document management approach to data management approach. And he said people shouldn't dread the transaction. They should dream about the home. And so it looks like it's something that's going to come alongside real estate agents rather than trying to replace real estate agents, which is interesting. It looks like it's going to offer additional concierge services somehow or organize those services somehow so that a real estate agent can offer a better experience to the end consumer, which is what I said I think is going to be the differentiator in us moving forward. So thanks again, Mitch, and we'll keep an eye on Tomo, see what that's about. Any more comments on the Tomo? You can flash your mic and I'll come to anyone up there. You can raise your hand if you're in the audience in Clubhouse. Okay, no. Mike Elizabeth Rodell said it could be like a fun game app for buying a house. Yeah. And she's right. She said, didn't Tom Ferry mention this interface needed to be developed 2 years ago? Is this it? He did mention that something like this needed to be created. So maybe we'll have to take a look at it and see if this is the missing piece. All right. Spencer Rascoff. He's got something called Pacaso. And we talked about Pacaso when it first launched, and it raised let me get this article to you real quick, producer Matt. Sorry about that. So this one raised 75 million. It wants to democratize second home ownership. Now, this is very different from a timeshare. So let's see. They started again in October. Pacaso is a website that has home listings available for purchase on a timeshare basis, modernizing the decades-old practice of co-ownership. A buyer can own 1/8 to a half of a vacation home. The company connects consumers with real estate agents, and Pacaso sets up professionally managed, uniquely designed for co-home ownership. After the purchase, Pacaso manages the home on an ongoing basis and facilitates the resale in partnership with a licensed real estate professional. So again, another former Zillow exec that is creating something that comes alongside the real estate agent and provides some additional streams of revenue by selling pieces of a home, in a sense, like almost like a timeshare basis, but it's not a timeshare. You actually own it. They're hoping that the fact that you actually own it will create a better secondary market too in the future, and also it's all managed. Let's see, and that's about all in that article. So, have any of you worked with Pacaso yet? I'd love to see some hands raised if you are. No, okay. If none of you have worked with Pacaso, then I'll go on to the other article. But I was hoping to get some feedback on that too, because I haven't seen anything in our area. Of course, we're not a huge second home area. We only have a couple of places that are second home areas, so I haven't really seen much. Okay, so let's talk a minute then. The next headline about horizontal integration. So there's horizontal integration and vertical integration. Horizontal integration takes place when a company like a real estate company also owns a mortgage company, also owns a title company, also owns these other companies that touch a buyer or seller throughout the transaction during that transaction, but it doesn't necessarily have a vertical integration that affects or impacts supply and demand. So the horizontal integration is like almost like it's not cooperative. That's not what I'm looking for, but anyway, it comes alongside and helps through the process. So Modus, MODUS, is a title and escrow service that the software company owned by Compass. It's set to have its license revoked by the state of Washington effective April 1st over a host of violations, including social media and co-branding violations, as well as alleged products it used to lure clients away from other firms and non-title services it allegedly offered for free or below market value. Quote, the insurance commissioner opened an investigation upon receipts of complaints of 2 Washington title companies. Both companies allege that the licensee is providing rebates and through the technology platform operating under the trade names Modus Technologies and Modus. So part of the complaint around Staging Boost, a platform offering a partnership with ZingFix, a third-party vendor, secures cleaning, landscaping. So this is, again, goes back to the concierge service. So they're offering third-party services like cleaning, landscaping, staging, listing preparation, renovation with a deferred payment. The complaint states that Modus used that partnership to lure customers away from other title companies. So, and I'm not sure, I guess that's illegal. I don't know why saying you could also offer these services would be illegal, but maybe they were doing it below market value, which that could be the problem. So Compass acquired Modus, a Seattle-based title and escrow software firm, in October of 2020. There were a lot of moves in October. That's interesting. They paid $50 million as part of its quest to build a platform for real estate agents. Any thoughts on that? If you're a Compass agent, have you had any experience with Modus? Are they active in your area? If not, we'll just go to the next headline. We're like trucking through these now. All right, so we're good. All right. So the last article Well, that article just said Pacaso is worth 1 billion. Hang on. I think that's it. I think we covered everything. CDC ban. I'm going back through these articles now. Yep, covered that one. I think that's it, guys. That was fast. Yay. Yep, the next one's about Petco. So that is it. All right, so I want to open it up for conversation, specifically around some of the. It's really interesting to me that some of the former Zillow executives are creating companies that come alongside real estate agents, and it seems like they're doing it in a way that is in part what Zillow is still currently doing. So I know, Taylor, I know you're from Zillow. It seems like Zillow in some of the markets are starting to offer these concierge type services through the iBuyer program. Can you give me any insight on some of those services and how they're doing it?
I am not allowed to talk about Zillow stuff on Clubhouse. But
That's hilarious.
as a local Washington broker here in Seattle, you know, with respect to, like, there's so many things to talk about. Firstly, like, going all the way back to the beginning, Compass's valuation. Like, you got to remember when companies are valued by the Goldman Sachs of the world, they're not looking at, like, what is this company worth today if, you know, some single person were to buy it, right? And even single buyers don't buy companies based on revenue today, right? You're looking at what is the future of this company, what is their vision, and how is their vision leader going to accomplish their goals, right? And so obviously Robert Reffkin, CEO of Compass, has laid out this visionary future, right? Of instead of becoming are we buying and selling houses, right? That is such a 2010 way to view real estate. Sorry, I'm gonna just say the thing. Right, what these companies are doing, what Tomo seems to be doing, and Mitch, you know, feel free to interrupt here, is creating a transaction enablement platform. A transaction enablement platform for top performers in the industry, right? And so what all these companies are doing, or what they're going to do, is drive a wedge between top performers, the people who are doing the majority of the business in real estate, a system to move people through the funnel as fast as possible and moving those people away from the people doing one-off deals for friends and family, people doing, you know, 5 or 6 deals a year, right? Because those people doing 5 or 6 deals a year outside of New York, full disclosure, are going to just start doing less, right? Because the reason why people submit on aggregators and the Zillows and Trulias and realtors and market leaders and things like that are because their agent isn't staying in enough touch with them, right? Their agent isn't providing the value that person wants to see right then and there, and that person is looking elsewhere for that value, right? So all these companies, like I said, are creating these transaction enablement platforms because consumers want to know exactly where they are, exactly where they're going to be, and how they can help influence decisions along the way, because the days of starting a transaction and completely forgetting about it ended when the internet came online.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. It seems like there's a lot of fear among agents that these platforms out to replace the real estate agent, but I just don't really see that happening. It seems like a lot of them are coming alongside the agent. Yes, I think they're taking the place of some of the transactions that happen in the real estate industry, but I keep saying seem because that's what it is, but it doesn't look like it's taking the place of a real estate agent. It's more competition for an investment, more competition for an investor that's able to do a quick flip and get something else back on the market very fast and then make a profit from it. So if you're looking at an iBuyer saying that's going to replace real estate agents, I don't think so at all. But if you're looking at some of these platforms that say, hey, we're going to make buying and selling easier, and you're a real estate agent that's running away from that technology, which we covered last week, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to be running towards that technology and then figuring out how you can use that technology in your business to transform your own systems to provide a better level of service. Is that what you're saying, Taylor?
Yeah, exactly, right. And like, who are iBuyers working towards, right? Who are they reaching? They're reaching people who aren't available to traditional real estate professionals, maybe because they're outside of people's spheres who work their spheres, or people who aren't working their spheres well enough, right? They're trying to add liquidity to a market that is incredibly not liquid right now, right? I mean, the entire, Rich Barton has gone on our last earnings call, on Zillow's last earnings call, and said, there's a dream of a one-click nirvana, right? Where you should be able to, trading your home at the click of a button. And I'd love to hear Mitch's words on this too. Your wealth of experience in real estate, both at EXP and Zillow. What you think about what I just said, but that's with respect to the iBuyer side of the business. And then, I think all of these platforms are racing to become transaction enablement systems outside of your traditional real estate website provider. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I think what you both said, and Ray, you just said something that really kind of struck me. Great agents deserve world-class tools, and there's a lot of stuff out there. You talk to the typical agent, they're getting like 10 agents a day from every vendor in the world that wants to make their life better, whether it's a CRM or something else. But overall, how do we help great agents keep up with the production and the demand that they have? And then the other half of that is like, who's really looking out for the consumer, right? Like I inherently believe, and this goes back to my Zillow days even, my era at Zillow was all about, how do we make agents more successful? And the agent is the most important part of the transaction. And at Tomo, like, that's a huge belief that we have. Like we're going to work with great agents. Our co-founder, Greg Schwartz, sometimes uses the term, like, who's the mayor of their community? What agent has that role to help a consumer? Like, we kind of need to find like tech with humanity, right? For the agent. And I don't think anybody's really like thinking about it in those terms. And I think that's the direction that we should be thinking about a little more.
Hey, Ray, may I comment?
Yeah, sure, Joe. Go ahead.
Hey, appreciate it. Appreciate the insight from both Mitch, Taylor, Ray, obviously, the updates that you are giving and the dialogue. I think from a broker perspective or an agent perspective, I appreciate the thought process and the vision around providing additional tools for the brokers, for them to have in their toolbox to continue to keep the consumer the priority and making the process as simple as possible, which we know is critical. I'm very fascinated by, Mitch, kind of what Tomo is looking to do. Locally on our team, we tend to have a concierge approach to our business. So a lot of these things that you're talking about, we do for our clients already. And it comes down to communication. And it does come down to empowerment as well. So I'm glad that you said that. And I think it's great to hear that that's going to be a part of your focus for the tool. I would disagree probably in the approach at some of the folks that have done this in the past, whether it be Zillow, or my hope for Tomo would be, is that in addition to keeping the consumer the top priority, if an agent isn't going anywhere and there is that attitude of mayor of their town, which I agree with, nothing is going to replace the human. Zillow, no one. And that's not a jab, that's just in general. People want that human connection, but it's about using the tools and amplifying that. I would just encourage a continued focus and engagement of those agents to ensure the communication is aligned, it's clear, so that the messaging and vision truly matches those of the actions. Because I think Taylor, you may have been the one that mentioned it about platforms driving a wedge between agents. I think that's where the miss is. I think that there is a wedge being driven in different platforms, and the messaging isn't helping the situation. So I think that might be where the opportunity is the messaging and truly backing that up with action. So just a perspective, just an opinion here, guys, but I appreciate what you're doing.
I would agree with that. Messaging around this whole topic has to be incredibly careful, especially if the companies that are taking on this task want to use the agent relationships. And I think it comes also, I think, Taylor, you hit it, such a 2010 thought. Yeah, I think it goes back to like the 1900s where real estate agents kept all the data. They kept everything in books, right? And in order to see properties, you had to go to a real estate agent, and they would have this MLS book And then they would take you, and you had to trust that agent that they're showing you everything in that book that fits your need. And there was no public information. And I think we've come a long way since then, which is a good thing. I think having that data available to the public is a good thing. It should shorten our search. And one of the things I tell my clients all the time is, look, your parents and grandparents may say, don't buy the first property you see. And that could be the worst advice in the world. But when they were searching for a home 20 years ago, that was great advice, because, there were several properties that they didn't even have the photos. But now, you search thousands of homes before you even actually look into a house and get shown a property. And by then you pretty much know what you're looking for. So it's okay to buy the first property you see these days. And so the messaging going to real estate agents that have been in the business 40 years, 50 years, 20 years, 30 years. I've been in the business 15 years, and we've gone from no data or very limited data out there. And we didn't have cell phones at the time, or smartphones. And now we have, an incredible amount of data, and the control of that data and the old boards and the politics surrounding that, I think, is where the crux is. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know the latest National Association of Realtors DOJ agreement also said that if you're a real estate agent, you should have access to these lockboxes. And I think that's a good rule, because I don't think it's fair if somebody went through the trouble and they got their license and they're practicing. That's fine. They're a real estate agent. They should be able to show properties to their clients. What I'm interested in is if that's also going to happen to the multiple listing service. If they're going to say, if you're a real estate agent, you should really have access to the multiple listing service, as long as you agree to abide by the same rules and inputs as the multiple listing service, without being a part of the board of realtors. And I wonder if in the future the government's going to make us split that. And if they do, there's hope for a big open platform created by real estate agents that we haven't done yet. When we sold realtor.com, it was a huge mistake. We should have taken realtor.com. We should have gotten all the boards together. We should have had a consumer search website that people could go to. But because we didn't as agents, third-party services have taken a foothold and are doing that for the consumer. And I can't count the times I've heard someone in a tech company that is servicing people that need real estate help. You guys both said it, Taylor and Mitch. You said, who's looking out for the consumer? Well, then you have real estate advocates that say the same thing, and look at some of the tech companies that are doing something that, may not be exactly as a real estate agent would do it. Like Glenda, who she's in the audience, she says, who's looking out for the consumer? The same thing. And I think if we're all looking out for the consumer and trying to figure out how to serve them well and do right by them, then there's room enough for everyone in the marketplace. I think Zillow said that their iBuyer program, in which you could just buy a home using the Zestimate, and you can easily just, point and click, a one-click purchase or sale of your home, that's only going to impact about 10% of the marketplace, which leaves 90% of the marketplace open for traditional real estate activities and agents. I was at dinner with some agents last night, and one of the things we were talking about is the Walmart effect. And for some reason, it's been compared, the big tech companies entering into real estate has been compared to Walmart several times. Well, for me personally, I'm in Arkansas, home of Walmart. And so we see firsthand what happens, and it also helps fuel our economy. But I told them the story the other night of this guy that owned a fish shop. And this is a true story. I think it was one of my dad's clients. This guy owned a fish shop. Walmart opens up almost across the street. And what do? They sell fish. And so the guy goes over and he looks at this fish setup, and they're so cheap and they're selling everything so far below what he can do. He decides, okay, it's time for me to change. I've got to specialize. And so he starts selling fish, but he starts selling fish that Walmart doesn't carry. He starts selling the better rocks. He starts selling better chemicals. He starts selling better aquariums. He starts selling the expert level stuff. And he knew everything about it. And so people would go to Walmart, do what they had. They would come to his shop, and then he would educate them on the process. And because he could provide a better customer experience and a better education, and the customer knew what they were getting, they would use him. And eventually his business started to grow, and people would go to Walmart, see what they had. They'd come here, and then he'd sell them. Or they'd go to him, then go to Walmart, and then come back, and he'd sell them. So then after he grew for several years, because of the increased traffic and activity that Walmart was providing. He then started selling the same fish and the same products that Walmart started selling. And eventually that Walmart closed down their fish because they weren't selling enough. So they don't sell fish anymore in that Walmart. And so that's just an anecdotal story of how we as real estate agents have to cut an edge for ourselves in our own systems and processes, which maybe Tomo will do, who Mitch was in the room earlier, he's left since, or that maybe partnering with Zillow in a way, you could come alongside them, they come alongside you, you offer additional services, they give you different leads. And then you're creating these partnerships with tech companies in order to serve you as a real estate agent so that you could provide a better service to consumers as a whole. It's very difficult, speaking from someone who owns a brokerage, for a real estate brokerage to also be a company. It's a lot easier for tech companies to later become a real estate brokerage, but to offer the same levels of service and expertise is going to be difficult for them too. So I think there's room enough for both in the marketplace. And I'm anxious to see how it's all going to play out, quote, in the end, and what this is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. But I think if we don't do what the fish guy did, if we still just try to say, no, I'm just going to do it my way, and we don't alter how we do our business for the new generation that's coming through, then we're going to be like the other mom and pops that they didn't change how they served either. And now they're out of business because people like Walmart could provide a similar enough product and similar enough service to take them out. So streamlined service is going to be offered by tech companies. That's great. But we as real estate agents have to offer a remarkable service, an unforgettable an unforgettable experience for the consumer. And if we do that, I think we'll have a foothold in the industry moving forward. And there's going to be a lot fewer of us. Right now, like Dan said, there's more real estate agents than homes for sale. And so the handwriting is on the wall that if you don't professionally develop, and if you're not trying to improve and come to things like Clubhouse and hopefully watching the show like the Bearded Men of Real Estate so you know what's going on in the world, if you're not doing those basic professional development things, then in the future, you're not going to make it. So hopefully seeing all the investment in tech that we talked about today, the millions and millions and millions that are going into the tech companies that aid consumers in the purchase of homes, hopefully today that will rattle you enough to where you start to look at some of these companies and say, how can I use them to help my business? And how can I use them to help me service the consumer? Because if you're not looking at them as an assistant and you're only looking at them as a competitor, then I think you may be missing the boat. But we'll see what happens. That's my opinion for whatever it's worth. I know there are other great real estate agents with complete opposite opinions of that. And we discuss that all the time in Clubhouse. So if you're listening to Clubhouse, be sure you go up to the very top and click the little greenhouse that says Real Estate Networking and make sure you're following the club. If you're following the club, you'll get alerts like this one. There's also several rooms like a real estate agent and broker lounge that you can talk to other agents around the country, get referrals. There were over 30 referrals or 30 million in referrals in the first couple of days, and they stopped counting. But there's always referrals given in that group. You can also follow the Zillow Killer group. That's another one that is phenomenal. It's less about Zillow. The name is kind of catchy and it gets a lot of people to join, but it's more about you just marketing yourself and getting in front of your sphere and search engine optimization and websites and stuff like that. And then, of course, there's a CrossFit group that you got to join. That's pretty cool, which is represented by my shirt here. Matt, did you want to say something? I saw you blinking a second ago when I was wrapping up. Did you want to add anything to the discussion here?
No, I just love how you fit the CrossFit thing.
Always got to fit it in somewhere, man. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Matt, I appreciate you couldn't hear me just then, but I said I always got to fit it in somewhere. So there you go. Thanks, especially Taylor. I appreciate you sharing with us what you can, and love it if you would connect with me offline. Joe, again, thanks for sharing your input on that as well. And I think you're exactly right. Communication is going to be key moving forward. So thanks everyone for joining us on Clubhouse and for you guys joining us on YouTube and also still Facebook. But we'd love it if most of you would go over to the YouTubes because, Facebook, we'd love to broadcast mainly on YouTube and Clubhouse from now moving forward, but we're trying to move the whole audience over. So thanks again for joining us. You guys can find me on Instagram at Ray Zorback. That's RayZorback. I really appreciate you guys. We'll